Hello, I'm Alex Jones, and I'm a radio and television host based in Austin, Texas. And for many years, I've been exposing the criminal activities of the global elite, also known as the New World Order. In past films, we've documented the centralization of power, the move towards world government, the attack on the nation state, self-defense, the Second Amendment, family values, that is, the family itself, as well as private property rights. But time and time again in my research, I come, eye to eye with something that's even hard for me to believe. And that's that the elite, again, the so-called establishment kings, those that know best, the visions of the anointed ones, are obsessed with the occult, from presidents to governors to the heads of industry. We've all seen the stories of presidents and first ladies obsessed with their astrologers, making national policy decisions upon their recommendations. Spiritual guides, shamans in the White House. My friends, it gets far worse than that. Now, I personally am a Christian, but even an atheist should be concerned about the information we're about to bring forward in this new documentary film, The Dark Secrets Inside Bohemian Grove. You see, for over 120-plus years in Northern California, in Sonoma County, on a 2,700-acre secluded redwood grove, leaders from around the world, prime ministers, chancellors, presidents, governors, again, the heads of industry, banking, academia, the media, Hollywood, only a select few, a little over 2,000 people, travel there to engage in bizarre, ancient Canaanite, Luciferian, Babylon mystery religion ceremonies. At least that was the rumors. And so I went to the library and got on the internet and saw many of the mainstream news articles admitting that world leaders do indeed go there, and they fly into San Francisco and other surrounding cities and drive out into the rural hills and mountains of Northern California, and that these stories have been coming out that they worship some 45-foot stone owl god. And then I began to read some of the documentation on this Moloch character of the Old Testament, mentioned many times in Leviticus. That's in the Bible. Why are world leaders traveling to the middle of nowhere to worship this thing? Well, I had to check it out for myself. And I'm proud of my team. Mike Hansen, Violet Nichols. They traveled with me there. We talked to some of the locals discreetly. We successfully infiltrated, with the help of some of the locals and Channel 4, World of Wonder, British television that teamed up with us. And I successfully infiltrated through the Secret Service, through the guards, through the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department. We were inside 4 hours. That's only one day out of the 2 weeks that they meet there for the admitted Summer Fire Festival of the Bohemian Club. Well, basically, that's enough for me. It's hard to even describe it with words, and I hope that our hidden cameras can give you at least a small piece of what I witnessed. To have world leaders engaging in this type of sickening behavior, oh yes, there's much more to come. Mock human sacrifices, they claim, just shocks the very foundations of what Americans believe their leaders to be. And then to have it intimately connected with world government. It doesn't make a lot of sense until you research history. All throughout history, spanning back into the midst of the beginnings of civilization, we see world leaders from the empires of old, from the Aztec kings and priests to Babylonian leaders, to ancient Rome, engaging in twisted behavior. Could it be that when you have all the power and all the women and all the money and all the lands and all the art, you have to do something new? You have to go against the basic grain of humanity. You have to get off in a sick way. That's what we witnessed in Northern California, July 15th, 2000. Get ready to go inside the Bohemian Grove.
The
Bohemian Club, as it's known today, was founded in 1873 in San Francisco in Northern California. Many of the club's original annals, dating back to before the turn of the century, admit that local artists, writers, newspapermen, you name it, wanted a place away from the so-called backwardsness of the West Coast, the Judeo-Christian ethic. They found that place an hour and a half north of San Francisco, outside of the tiny town of Monterey. Their annals even admit an obsession with the occult and what they called druid rituals. Amongst the great redwood trees, they revived ancient ceremonies that in truth had their roots not in the Druids, but in Babylon itself. As the railroads brought commerce and larger populations, the prestige of the club grew until, in the year 2000, it is a gathering place for the world establishment, the elite. We're about to show you some of the key evidence documenting this. It is absolutely central to understand that these bizarre activities have been engaged in going back to 1873 and are not some new fanciful whim of the trendies on the West Coast. By the turn of the century, there was already a 10 to 15-year waiting list. Presidents from Howard Taft to Herbert Hoover were on the membership roster. Not to mention, later, famous war general Dwight D. Eisenhower, later to become president. The roster of the Bohemian Club reads like a who's who of the elite. Look at this photo taken inside the Grove back in 1963. There you'll see Ronald Reagan, and sitting two people over from him, later to become president, Richard Milhouse Nixon. Frankly, we don't know if these men actively enjoy the things that go on inside the Bohemian Club. But one thing is perfectly certain from the evidence. They are forced to go and attend and take part in these activities if they wish to be elevated to the highest levels of the geopolitical power structure. Take George Bush Sr., documented member. And then, of course, there's his son. Now, the last 4 generations of Bushes have also attended the Skull and Bones Society at Yale, well known to be steeped in the occult. Then there's Bill Clinton, a frequent attendee. Upon closer inspection, the entire federal government at the highest levels is infested with Bohemian Club members. And it doesn't stop there. America's private run-for-profit Federal Reserve Bank, from its very inception in 1913, has been run by prominent members of the Bohemian Club. Central Bank Chairman Alan Greenspan was seen leaving the Bohemian Grove only 1 month before he was appointed chairman of the Federal Reserve. He had to be a made man, to be a member of the most powerful cabal on the planet. Historical records are clear from major universities. The Manhattan Project was planned and instituted and run from the Bohemian Club. All of this going on in an atmosphere of bizarre revelry. You're looking at an illustration from a November 1989 issue of Spy magazine. Spy goes undercover with Henry Kissinger, Merv Griffin, and William F. Buckley, Jr. The story was clearly a shill, meant to misdirect the intensifying media coverage that the Grove was getting in the late 1980s. The writer's spin is obvious. They're just masters of the universe, big frat boys blowing off steam. We'll get back to this article later. Because you can clearly see that the mantra in the spin story has been picked up as a front by all the local media. Sure, they're elitist. Sure, they have some bizarre rituals. But what's the big deal? They're just having fun. If that was the case, why would David Gergen, presidential advisor to President Clinton, resign from the Bohemian Club and 17 other organizations when it was revealed in 1993? Organizations like the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg Group. But it's not just the Washington Times and the Sacramento Bee. You're looking at an illustration from the pages of Parade magazine, February 22nd, 1981. This story was the most accurate and revealing, detailing the so-called mock human sacrifice. Former German Chancellor Helmut Schmidt wrote extensively in his memoirs, Men and Powers, a Political Retrospective, goes into great detail about the secret establishment running the world. The Trilateral Commission, the CFR, the Bilderberg Group, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, the Bohemian Grove, a place that he often talked about being a wonderful hideaway, a place to spend time with Nelson and David Rockefeller, and to talk about world government and steering societies. On page 225 of Men and Powers, he talks about it being one of the most astounding places he had ever visited in the United States, and how that feeling intensified over the years with subsequent visits. The book goes on for page after page discussing the corporate, private, governmental infrastructure of world government. Going back to the Spy Magazine spin piece, they have lots of rosy illustrations of drunken establishment types dancing around having fun with the rituals going on in the background. They even admit that they wear bizarre Ku Klux Klan-style robes. And there's even a photo released by the Grove of the ritual being engaged in. They talk about the incredible security surrounding the Grove. And they even admit that a corpse, a sacrifice, is borne across the lake. But it's all in good fun.
They say it's racist. Yes, all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When in the course of human events, I mean, come on, people. All men are created equal? How is that racist? But that's what the Black Caucus says in Pennsylvania. And the media goes, yes, racist, don't be racist. And of course the Black Caucus is being manipulated by their globalist banker masters. It's not even a black-white thing. It's just anything that's good for the country is racist, is backwards, is stupid. Remember the story I read last week? Then we're going to go to your calls. The review of the Patriot out of MSNBC. It's actually a review of the reviews. War of Words over the Patriot, Hollywood's horror over conservative family values is the headline. It says, the Patriot is right-wing hogwash, bathed in an old, timely golden glow, writes Aaron Berger of the Washington City paper. Now the disgruntled homeschooling, SUV buying.
Henry. How you doing? Alex Jones. The Republicans have this deal every year where they've even admitted in the papers they burn satanic effigies, run around naked in the woods. Former presidents and presidents. It's called Bohemian Grove. We're going to go infiltrate it and get in and document what they're doing.
Where's this at?
It's north of San Francisco, on 2,700 acres. We've been doing it for 100-something years. It's even in the Sacramento Bee and papers. I mean, this is how arrogant they are. I mean, they don't admit the naked part, but they burn this thing called the cremation of care, and it's actually Moloch worship, which goes back to Babylon, where they'd have the great owl and they heat it up inside the Bible, they throw the baby in. They even admit it. I mean, but they don't throw a baby in, they just burn the stuff inside and stand around in like red robes, red Ku Klux Klan robes. Needless to say, we're a little bit jittery, huh? At least I am. Well, these two know what they're getting into. But we're meeting the British media, Channel 4, national media there. There he was.
All right. Do you have your photo ID, Mike?
International ID card, Hanson.
Chuck, good to meet you.
I almost crushed my hand.
I saw you on the phone the other day and everything so much good. And so forth, and I think more of us are starting to get involved.
Well, folks are starting to wake up. That's what it's all about.
I hear you talking.
Yeah.
I remember you saying the other day you were going to San Francisco. We're going to have your program live this next week.
Yeah.
Good tag for you, Mom.
You would have it the following week.
Yep.
You want to check?
Yeah, we got to check that.
Okay.
Well, it's already got a tag on it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Bag's kind of plenty. Rodney plenty. Awesome. Thanks.
Do you want to pick us up?
Oh, wait, San Francisco.
Chuck, you be careful, bud.
You'll be happy.
All right, let's
Starting to like it. Hey, Violet. I'm starting to like it.
you like that little camera?
Yeah.
I know, but it's about you and your mission, so fork it over.
Okay, let's go.
It's me.
Simply slide the metal end into the buckle and adjust by pulling on the loose end of the strap.
There's a Golden Gate too, honey. Actually, it's worse than crashing on it, contrary to Hollywood. After landing in San Francisco at the International Airport, we traveled through the city, across the Golden Gate Bridge, into deeper Northern California. Northern California, home to the giant sequoia redwoods. From there north to Santa Rosa, going west on Highway 12, the gateway to Bohemian Grove. We spent the first night in Santa Rosa before getting up early in the morning and traveling into the town of Occidental, where we were going to meet the British media and start our investigation. Well, here we are in Northern California, right outside the Bohemian Grove. The fruits of nature. But I'll tell you this, I don't worship it and sacrifice things to it. Let's go find out what's going on. Yeah. All right. Well, here we are, folks. Turning on to the Bohemian Highway and Bohemian Grove. We're going to find out what in the New World Order is going on here. Did you get that, Hanson?
Yeah. I'm back there. Oh, that's that guy. Thank you, Parker.
No, I tell you, it's beautiful out here during the day, but it is spooky at night. I don't know if you guys got some footage of it, all the fog and the rest of it.
So are you excited?
Oh yeah, I really want to check into some maps and things, and I'm willing. I mean, hiking into 2,700 acres is not too hard. We need to get into the woods. We need to sort ourselves. We need to catch these people at their business. The old cremation of care. Their little Moloch or Maloch or Maloch's worship. I'm joking. That's a. Well, they're spies, aren't they? Oh, you guys just got here too?
Camera wars.
Stereo. I'm gonna hang out in the woods till it gets dark.
I've got a map. You guys want to look at that?
My question is, the history. What do they do if they catch you in there?
They have us killed.
I doubt that.
Skinned alive.
I don't know.
And they
I
throw
don't.
darts at your skin and your body. Hanging upside down from a redwood tree.
I doubt that.
No, we'll see. No, I think they'll just check us out. Check them out.
What about me? Because I'm a woman, I can't really sneak in, can I? I mean,
You can't go
I can.
in. You've got to stay.
I've got to stay.
Yeah.
I've got to stay behind in the spooky Occidental lodge.
My only question is there a fence all the way around the property?
No, just trees.
Okay, here's the big question. What farmers or ranchers live in here who are going to blow my ass off if they see me sneaking across? Because I have no problem. If there's a road, if I can be shown a way to insert myself into this with Hanson. But then I need to know where the cremation of care, what day they're supposed to do it, where this pond is.
Tomorrow night at dusk.
That would mean that from the area, and this will actually take some real planning because I didn't have these maps like you guys did. I'm gonna need to know where I'm supposed to get in here at. Where there's a road, where.
Well, this guy tonight will give you a really good briefing.
Yeah,
Right,
this guy
good.
tonight knows everything.
You think you can trust him?
Well, yeah.
We'll be the judge of that.
I'm not gonna end up tied down on a pentagram with Henry Kissinger's fat belly hanging over while he's naked with a big dagger, am I? I just want to make sure that's a joke.
Just the thought is very...
Oh, like Governor Bush running around in a pink tutu, foaming at the mouth with a purple wig on, am I? No. Supposedly I hear that's what they do, so... I don't know.
I think they do these things, but the question is why.
And these power brokers, which bomb innocent countries and slaughter people and pump the food chain full of garbage and just everything else they do, it's probably something fun for them. They really get off on being bad little boys.
And rule the world. I mean, this is for some people this is the secret room.
Well, I mean, certainly in the whole class system, it's the pleasures of class. And now what class is, the power that you have is something different. And to me, I mean, from my research of Bohemian Grove, and you guys have obviously done more, I've read a lot of mainstream articles, alternative, talked to people, talked to some guests. It's really where people go in there to do whatever they want to do. So there are probably people sitting around fishing and probably people sitting around doing something completely different. Yeah, that looks like it could be a fun.
Yeah, that's... Okay, there's the stage. Right, that's where the talks happen. Because they've got this amphitheatre, and they have these kind of talks, and this is where George Bush gives talks and people like that on this stage. Oh look, there's the lake. There you go. Lakeside talks. There's the lake. There's the shrine. See, right there. That's where.
Honey, come get a shot of this. Now, where's this river? This is near the Russian River.
Can you see it?
Now, see, here's the shrine of their devil owl, which they even admit has its roots in like Babylon, and the Druids had them and everything else. So all over the world, this weird owl shows up. Some cultures, they've thrown children inside the bowels of this burning owl. That's historical. We've all read in the Bible about throwing your children to idols inside their, So it's weird behavior, definitely, so it needs to be investigated. And plus, it gets the adrenaline out. Thrill seekers have to have more. But here you go, honey. Right here, the shrine. You can zoom in on that, Mike. I'm saying honey to my girlfriend, Violet, not Mike here. We're getting real bohemian now, aren't we? This is... Honey, we get a close shot right here? But it did sound like that she's definitely leftward leaning. Then we get into the whole semantical debate about is there a left and a right, and to me there really isn't. There's command and control on one end and anarchy on the other, and I want to be on the middle of the real spectrum. Certainly got to have some control in a complex society and civilization, but all the developments I see are pretty bad towards dehumanization. And now you got the UN demanding everybody sign on to this International Criminal Court. And they're telling the U.S. if we don't sign on, it won't matter. If 60 countries ratify, we'll be under its control. I mean, we're here. We're at global government now. When they're saying they're going to have some world court in the Netherlands that they'll take anybody they want to. In fact, I was reading some of the talks that they've given and they've released that the Bohemian Grove has discussed, and it's all population control, world courts. You're talking 20 years ago. So definitely some stuff's going on here that's pretty important. But is it the ultimate elitist retreat? I would imagine those we don't even know the names of. This is probably just one more steering committee where they bring in a lot of underlings and high-level corporate chieftains that really aren't the upper top echelon, make them feel important, and then implement some type of strategy. From the stories I've read and things that happen, I mean, it is pretty well documented that people run around naked. They have orgies. They go into town and have orgies, and these are world leaders. We got a serious problem with that. Just by the very nature of how this, to me, Bohemian Grove is probably a way to compromise people. You want to be in the New World Order Club. It's like a big kid fraternity. And just like in fraternities, you have to do weird things. Here, you probably do weird things. But I got a problem with governors and presidents and prime ministers and corporate chieftains running around and doing this when they have so much power over what happens in the public domain. They have a responsibility to disclose what they're doing. So I think it is important, like you were saying, to somehow try to maintain some security and not be way out in the open because they'll call in a bunch of security.
And the Bush might be here this year. The Bushies, George W.
I hear,
like he often is.
I hear he really enjoys himself here.
I think Henry Kissinger will be here.
Yeah. Well, if I got a stink detector, we'll be able to find out where he's at. I was like, everything evil you can imagine, Kissinger's always involved in it.
Isn't he a Republican, though?
I'm not a Republican. That's the point I keep making. This whole Democrat-Republican deal is a complete... People always go back to that, though. Like in your country, you've got Labor and you've got the Tories over there, and it's all the same people behind closed doors. It's just a big joke. And your leadership, our leadership, it's all the same people. I mean, you do see a fight going on, but it's two different management teams of the same system, bidding for control. What I call the CEO jobs of Slavery Incorporated.
Do you worry for Alex, Violet?
I do. I just, because Alex gets so impassioned by what he's doing that sometimes I'm afraid that he might be a little bit, reckless or maybe a little bit too fearless. I worry about Alex when he drives down the street to come home. Especially I used to worry about him when he had come home every night from the same, radio studio at the same time in the same car. And, I worry about him sometimes when he's late getting back in the studio and he doesn't give me a call. I mean, he is putting himself out there, but I think the fact that he's in the public eye as much as he is really, keeps him safe to a certain degree. So maybe something like this is, people might not necessarily know where he is right now, people that listen to the radio or whatever. So it's maybe a little bit more risky, and it's a little creepy at night up here in the woods,
And you're definitely not dangerous. You're not going to do anything stupid this weekend.
Well, dangerous to what? Dangerous to myself? Are these people dangerous? They certainly may be, but I'm completely nonviolent when it comes to just going out there and trying to get the information. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm an activist first and foremost, but also a journalist in that I'll make some jokes and speculate occasionally because I'm a radio talk show host. But when I say something that I believe, I have to be on target about it. But dangerous? I'm definitely dangerous to corrupt bureaucrats and their financial bosses that would like to control the American people on the planet.
But not in a violent way.
Not in a violent way. And for anybody that doubts we're in global government now or entering it, you've now got this UN criminal court. They're saying if 60 countries ratify it, then it doesn't matter if America doesn't sign on. Kofi Annan claims he has power to enter any country anytime he wishes. We've all read that, and seen it on television. So I'm fighting this global government. And long before global government came out in the open, in the last 4 or 5 years, they were conditioning the public that anyone that talks about global government is a kook, a weirdo, a terrorist, a racist. And now they're out on the nightly news saying global government's here, you better accept it, we're getting rid of juries all across the planet. The IMF, the World Bank, basically runs things now. The WTO decides what you can buy and sell and trade on the international market. But see, they've preconditioned us that it doesn't exist. They've preconditioned us that anybody that talks about this stuff and who is against it is a kook or a racist. because it doesn't exist. And then everybody's decided, well, I'm going to be culturally cool. I want to be in style. I want to be accepted. So even when they're hearing the news admit it and tell us how great it is, they've already pre-positioned it psychologically that it's not acceptable, it's not kosher to discuss it. Do you see the tactic they're using there? Mm-hmm. 5 years ago, I would laugh when I heard about black helicopters. I would say, I'm about taxes, I'm about corruption, I'm about getting local control back, I'm about states' rights, everything's coming under federal control. I was pretty mainstream, what you'd call so-called conservative. Then I saw the light when black helicopters started going into North Carolina. I started going into Florida. They fired into an all-night restaurant in Miami, just training, firing bullets into a place where people were eating. They started burning buildings. Police chiefs started throwing them out of their towns, San Antonio. All this started happening, and I said, whoa, this is real. And then I realized that I was preconditioned, even as a so-called conservative person who understood that the media lied. I didn't realize how thick the propaganda was, that they preconditioned us before they release something on us, that it, number one, doesn't exist in our minds with classic doublethink, but then it can re-exist at the same time if they say it does and it's good. So it's literally George Orwell's doublethink, and one has to have it to stay sane in this world. Well, I refuse to be a part of it. I mean, the news every day, black helicopters are a joke, they're stupid, the culture, commercials, movies. At the same time, almost every month in this country, they're attacking and terrorizing some town with burning buildings and terror. And I don't want to be part of their sick control freak system. I don't like these degenerate, inbred, New World Order crowd people. They're not going to run my life. They're not going to control me. And I'm going to try to expose them. And I think we've had some success doing that. I know this, the Henry Kissingers, the George Bushes, those people, these are dangerous individuals. They've proven they're dangerous. They have no problem controlling and destroying entire societies.
I just wanted to make sure that you weren't going to actually push any of them in the river or throw them into the owl.
No. Hey, Violet, look how pretty it is.
Sure is pretty.
Mike, you enjoying yourself?
A lot less spooky during the daytime.
It's all foggy.
Yeah, we're going to take our British friends down into the forest a little bit later tonight. Let them gallivant in the werewolf-ridden woods. Joking. They'll add me on there. Alex Jones, radio talk show host, believes werewolves infest Northern California. They've been seen dancing with grizzly bears. Small pixies been even witnessed playing violin for George Bush. Don't know what to make of what's going to happen. I can't even begin to imagine what we're going to discover when I infiltrate tomorrow and try to get the cremation of care. Their Moloch worship, or however you pronounce it, some ancient pagan human sacrifice behavior. I don't know if they actually have the human involved. I certainly doubt it. I certainly hope not. But these globalists and elitists all throughout history, going back to the old empires, they like to, do more and more obscene things to, as some say, get off. So we'll see what develops. We're very close to the gateway to Bohemian Grove now. The first set of gates and security. They have a small guard check at the front, and then they have a larger second one. Not a through road. Get a shot of that. There's a guard gate right over it, a small guard gate, and then back further, an even more elaborate guard gate with surveillance cameras, you name it. Not a through road, ladies and gentlemen, right up here in Northern California. How you doing, sir? Okay. Camp Meeker? Yeah. Oh. I'm Alex Jones. I make documentaries. I'm just curious, what do you think about Bohemian Grove?
I used to work there.
You used to work there?
Yeah.
And now you work at Camp Meeker?
No, I don't work. Yeah, I live in Camp Meeker.
Oh, you live there?
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Did you ever watch the cremation of care?
No. No.
What'd you do at the...
I just worked there.
But, I mean,
Yeah.
you never saw them march around in the red robes? And
No.
Oh, really? That doesn't go on?
But yeah, I get it.
Okay. Thanks. What have you guys heard about Bohemian Grove?
Oh, I don't know. Bunch of rich people, right?
Have you ever heard about the 40-foot stone owl and the mock human sacrifice?
I heard about it a little bit, yeah.
Roll that window down. We
yet.
have to talk to you. Hold on. We'll go around here.
I don't know. Oh, yeah?
So what have you heard about the...
Oh, I just read stuff about it in the paper. I don't know. Some people don't like it. They protested or something weird.
But what about the 40-foot stone owl and the mock human sacrifice? You say you heard something about that?
Well, just what I read about in the paper.
Oh, the paper admitted that.
Well, no, I don't know if they admitted it. They just said people go protest it. It supposedly happens. Sounds kind of weird.
Does sound weird to me.
Yeah. Why you guys? What are you guys doing? This TV show or something?
We're just having fun.
Oh yeah.
This town isn't like Children of the Corn or anything, is it?
Oh no, nothing like that. I'm sure. I don't know though. Supposedly lots of people go there. Some kind of weird event. I don't know. You guys know anything about it? You don't know.
What would you say if we told you that they sacrificed a human in effigy in mock to a 40-foot stone owl in black and red and silver cloaks?
Sounds kind of different.
Do you think it's good to have?
School talks down.
Do you think it's good to have so-called world leaders secretly engaging in pagan activities?
I can't say it's that great. No.
Why would you have a problem with that?
Well, I don't know. It could be all right. Depends how you look at it.
Kind of relativist worldview, huh?
Yeah.
Got to sacrifice care to the winds, huh?
I don't know. Could just be for fun, or they could really be weird.
They run around naked. Run around naked and freak out. There you go.
Have you heard that?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, to tell you the truth, here's a funny story.
What have you heard? Okay, go ahead.
No, this is the truth. A couple years ago, I was down the road, just down Yar, past Camp Meeker, and I was stopped with a friend of mine.
Now, Camp Meeker's right outside Bohemian Grove.
That's an affirmative.
Yes.
And we were down the road, and we were stopped there because we were just having a cigarette, hanging out, taking a break, and some Secret Service men actually pulled up behind us and asked us what we were doing and why we were there. It was true. They were like, "What are you guys doing? Where are you at? Why are you parked here? What's going on?" And asked us a whole bunch of questions. What our names were, who we were affiliated with, where we lived, all kinds of stuff. Sort of interrogated us.
Did you answer their questions?
Totally.